The riffs are too repetitive, the lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides and the cover art's a mess. There's so much here to tear apart. Listen to it for a week, now that week has passed. It's Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Garrett.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Why I Hate This Album. I am one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey. With me, as always, co-host extraordinaire, Crocodile Dundee 2 to my Crocodile Dundee, Timothy Richardson. Tim, how you doing, buddy?
I am pretty terrified.
Oh, what's got you so scared?
Well, the song, Garrett, we have been listening to, and we will be discussing SoundCloud rappist Lil Nix's, not to be confused with Lil Nas X's, 2020 song Coronavirus, first released on SoundCloud and YouTube. This was suggested by Alyssa. Thank you for bringing this to our attention, Alyssa.
Alyssa, I guess I have to thank you. This is the sort of thing we should be doing on the show, but I gotta say, fuck you, Alyssa. I was saying that with a smile on my face and joy in my heart. But seriously, Alyssa, this was bad.
Alyssa, word to your mother.
Wow.
This is obviously a very timely and relevant song to all of our collective situation. So, like most news organizations, a community that I think we can all agree that our podcast is a part of, we are proud, at least I'm proud, to be offering this particular episode free of charge. Don't worry, no need to check your credit card statements this week. You will not be charged the regular fee for downloading this episode. This one's on us, and you're welcome.
Wait a minute. Are you charging people?
Per episode, yes.
People, do not give Tim money. This is readily available anywhere on the internet. Also, if you are charging people, which again, if you are, we are going to talk about it.
I think you're misunderstanding me. I'm not charging people for this one.
No, I get it. That's my next question. Why would this week be free?
Oh, because this one is about a song about coronavirus, and most news organizations are...
Okay, Tim, we had a pre-show meeting, very rare for this show, and we had one topic. Of course, we did not discuss the song in any capacity whatsoever, but we did discuss not representing ourselves as an official news organization and in any way giving the implication, implicitly or overtly, that anything we say on this show should be taken as medical information. It is not.
Allegedly.
No. God damn, man. We went over this.
Right. You said to say allegedly. I'm saying allegedly.
That was a different thing. We can't get hung up on this. Folks, ignore Tim as usual. And I've said this before. Don't give Tim money. Tim, do you hate this song?
Nope.
Come on.
I guess I don't really need to ask, but I will. Do you hate this song, Garrett?
You know, I'm not sure.
That is unexpected.
I'm so close to there. I am on the edge of there. A light breeze could get me to Hate Town this week, but because I don't know who this person is, and by that I mean it could be like an 8-year-old, I don't know enough yet to judge him, so I will say I don't hate it. Okay. But like I said, the scales could be tipped at any moment.
Well, it's not an 8-year-old. It's almost certainly a national organization, but we'll get into that.
What? Okay, well, Tim, I am curious. You don't hate it. I almost hate it. But prior to this week, had you ever heard Coronavirus by Lil Nix?
I had no idea that this existed until it was brought to our attention by our listeners. I assume you were fairly familiar. You Google coronavirus almost constantly.
Want to make sure I'm up to date on the facts, Tim. I knew that there was a fresh batch of mumble rapists that were putting out coronavirus-related songs. Didn't listen to any of them prior to this week. So, for all intent and purposes, this was completely new to me as well.
You're right. This is not the only song called Coronavirus. This is not the only song about the coronavirus. I looked up a couple of other songs about this. Luke Combs, 6 Feet Apart, Turbo, Gunna, and Young Thug, Quarantine Clean, Drive-By Truckers, Quarantine Together. There's Cardi B and I Marquise, Coronavirus, and of course that Rolling Stones song Livin' in a Ghost Town, as well as many, many others. But this is not unique.
No, not by any means. And in fact, of the ones that you just stated, this one falls at the bottom of the list. I will say, Tim, I also did a bit of research. I don't know if you listened to any of these other virus-related songs. Most of them, much like this one, are not good. But there is a bright spot, and it goes by the name of Sykes. He is a rapper from South London, and he has a song called Spreadin', parentheses, Coronavirus. that's actually quite good. The beats are good. I think this guy's got talent. And so if you're interested in a non-shitty coronavirus themed song, check out Sykes, P-S-Y-C-H-S.
Okay, but that's not what we do here. We don't listen to the good songs.
Well, no, but I listen to all the songs, and I happen to find a good one.
Okay.
Good might even be a stretch. I listen to a lot of coronavirus-themed songs, and this is the one I liked, so take it with a grain of salt.
Okay.
So, Tim, before we can talk about this song, we need to understand everything we can about the author. So, Tim, who is Lil Nix, and how did his hit Coronavirus come to be?
Lil Nix's birth name is possibly Nathan Anthony Cole.
Checks out.
That's all. That's all I got. His YouTube description reads simply, you either FWM, I believe that's fuck with me, you either fuck with me or you don't.
Typically, Tim, listeners of the show would know that this is the part where I strike you for not properly researching the artist of the week, but this week there will be no fury of slaps. You're 100% right. This guy's a ghost. He does not really have any sort of artist profile. So here I will give you the full dossier that I was able to assemble with Gino's help and a plucky batch of new interns who we are currently letting reside solely in our guest bedrooms.
Right, because of the incident at the labs.
We don't talk about that.
I'm so sorry to all of them. It was
Please stop
58 souls.
bringing it up. Part of the agreement is we don't talk about the incident.
Okay.
We also don't call it the incident. We call it the event.
Okay.
We don't call it anything because we don't talk about it. Here's what I know about Nathan Anthony Cole. He is from the UK. He likes to shave vertical lines in his eyebrows. His full bio from his website reads as follows. 100% independent. Everything you see on this page has been done by me. Invest in my dream and imagine what I could do for you.
Checks out. Now, I have a theory for why he is a ghost.
Okay. Love to hear it, Tim.
I don't think he exists. I think that he is a
Don't say ghost.
fictional character created by a series of government agencies, and I will explain when we get into the song.
All right, hold on. Now, I want to make sure I fully understand the premise before you give us a full-throated defense, and I assume that throat will be full. You believe that Lil Nix is a artifice, a made-up entity by a series of government institutions for some reason.
It could also be rogue agents working within those institutions. Again, I will give you the full defense, and I think I'll win you over almost immediately, and it might get you pretty far away from hate.
I'm going to make a prediction here. We don't do that a lot on the show, but I'm going to make a pretty confident prediction that what you just said is untrue, and that I will end this conversation furious.
You might end it furious, but you're going to be furious because of how you could have possibly missed this.
I can't wait to hear it.
Well, you want to hear a little bit of this masterpiece?
Sure. And as always, folks, we invite you go out to your local internet and pull up the music video. We're going to be talking about the song. We're going to be talking about the lyrics, and we will be talking about this music video. So treat yourself to 2 minutes of Lil Nix Coronavirus. But in case you just can't do it, maybe you're at work, maybe you're driving a truck and you can't pull up YouTube, we understand. So here's a little taste of Lil Nix Coronavirus.
That shit pulled up to my city like aloha, yeah. Quarantine, yeah, that quarantine.
For the record, if you are driving a truck, you just go ahead and pull it up anyway. You'll be fine.
What is wrong with you today? Have you been watching The Dark Knight?
You know I have.
Yeah, I know you have, because you play it way too loud.
Yeah, I spliced it onto the end of several of our Godzilla copies.
I can't fully understand either plot anymore. Was Ferris Bueller in The Dark Knight?
No, you're thinking of Godzilla.
Okay, for anyone confused, Godzilla is Tim's favorite movie, and of course we do not mean the most recent Gareth Edwards one. We do mean the one starring one Matthew Broderick, for some reason.
Because it's better. It's the definitive Godzilla. Anyway, this is very amateurish.
I don't think that's insulting either. I think it is done both by and in a manner that is representative of an amateur.
Yes, maybe on a little bit of the lower end of SoundCloud mumble rap, but for SoundCloud rap, it's competent-ish.
From just a quality standpoint, not talking about the music, the lyrics, any of it, it reminds me of maybe our first 20 episodes. There's some issues with leveling, might be a learning curve that you might not have quite overcome yet. And hey, we're not throwing stones. Like I said, our first 20 or so are pretty rough, but you would think you would listen to it back. A podcast is very different than a song. You can evolve over time. We have 150 episodes by this point. 20 of them don't sound great, no problem. But if this is your big hit, you're capitalizing on the moment, and you listen back and it's maybe a little uneven, maybe it blows out the sound a little bit here and there, just do another take.
We do typically 3 or 4 takes of every episode.
We don't even record the first version. That's the dry run.
It's not fire. It's not extra. It's not the straight dope. It's not any of the things the kids are saying these days. Mm-hmm. I would argue that in the time it took us to listen to the song, go through the lyrics, write notes, and then speak to one another, maybe even edit the podcast, we could have purchased beats and made a song that sounded at least as good as this.
I don't like to agree with you, Tim, but this time I can confidently say, after seeing your skills as a beat meister?
Maester?
Mm-hmm. Okay, beat meister, in the lab as you call it, I am confident, Tim, that you have the skills to lay down a beat that is as good as, if not superior to this beat, and of course my rhymes cannot be beat.
Well, absolutely, but I wouldn't have to do that because he just bought this beat on the interwebs.
Should we be selling your beats?
We should.
Beats by Tim.
They are fire. They are extra. They're not the straight dope, but they are fire and extra.
I don't know where you're getting this vernacular, but I would love it to stop.
I watched a few of his other videos with actual footage of him, not like the music video for this. He really doesn't seem ready to perform live. It really sounds like he wrote the lyrics back of an envelope or some sort of cocktail napkin, and in the actual performance that we are hearing, he is reading the lyrics. He doesn't know what comes next. He's just reading into a microphone.
We have accused the mumble rap crowd of literally making it up on the spot and in the absence of lyrics just repeating themselves. This has a very unique sound, like the difference between somebody who is a good public speaker and seems natural and the person who is reading note cards.
Sure.
You can almost hear the pause as he flips the page.
Yeah, near the end it sounds a little bit spontaneous, but in that like Rick and Morty kind of way. You started the sentence not knowing where it would go, but he's just not that imaginative.
So it doesn't go anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, well, I think he made a mistake. He misread it, and then he comments on the fact that he misread it.
Fair
we'll
enough.
Get there,
Yeah.
Tim.
Part of the music does seem to be looped coughing.
Okay, we haven't even started to talk about the music. Only say one more quick thing. We're going to say some mean shit, probably already have, about this song and Lil Nix. I get the impression he's like 17, 18, somewhere in there.
Garrett, he's like 19 scientists.
Oh,
Just
God,
wait.
damn it. Well, my impression is that he's like a 17, 18-year-old person. You guys have heard my 16-year-old high school poetry. It's fucking terrible. So, respect. This guy got 1 million views with this song on YouTube. Good job. While we're throwing stones, it's for fun, Lil Nix. No hard feelings. Your song is not great, but I respect the effort. That's what I'm saying here, Tim.
All right.
Boy, do I though?
We'll get into it. It begins with like this dry cough that seems kind of looped over itself.
It's looped, cut, and remixed, Tim. At first, I was impressed with it. I know I shouldn't have been, but the more I hear it, and by that I mean not multiple listens, by minute 2, you really want the coughing to stop.
Yeah, it's not executed well enough to last as long as it does.
Right. It turns out people are put off by the sound of other people coughing.
Who knew?
We get, as you said, a beat purchased off the internet, certainly not nearly as good as the one Lil Nas X purchased, but mixed in with the coughing. Before we actually even get into him singing, we get an announcement that Lil Nix has fucked your daughter by some sort of Joe C character, it sounds like.
Yeah. There's weird talking in the background of this, kind of throughout the song. It doesn't really get better than that.
So let's get into the lyrics. What do you say?
Okay, well, before we do, Garrett, the most important thing about this song, did you see when it was officially released?
No.
Okay, this was published on SoundCloud and YouTube on January 30th, 2020. Now, I took the liberty of going through some presidential statements, and the day that this was released, the song warning of the dangers of coronavirus and how it will be deadly and how it will come to your town and how very few will escape unscathed. This very same day, Donald Trump said, "We only have 5 people. Hopefully everything's going to be great. They have somewhat of a problem, but hopefully it's all going to be great. But we're working with China, just so you know, and other countries very, very closely, so it doesn't get out of hand. But it's, it's something that we have to be very, very careful with, right? We have to be very careful." 13 days after the release of the song, Donald Trump said, "In our country, we only have basically 12 cases, and most of those people are recovering, in some cases fully recovered, so it's actually less." 28 days after the release of this song, Trump said, "When you have 15 people and the 15 within a couple of days is going to go down to close to 0, that's a pretty good job we've done."
God damn it, Tim. You know we try to keep this not political.
This isn't political.
I understand. It's just a government thing, right?
55 days after the release of this song, Trump said, "No one would ever believe a thing like this is possible. No one could have seen something coming like this." Now we know, and we know it can happen and happen again. My point is, Garrett, somebody did see this coming. Someone predicted exactly what would happen, and that person is Lil Nix, okay?
My God.
For all future public health issues, we should be looking to Lil Nix, is the point. They're ahead of the curve, they have our best interest at heart, and, if Lil Nix releases tracks about Ebola, dengue fever, monkeypox, Yersinia pestis, we should pay attention. But that's not really what I think. I don't think Lil Nix exists.
Then who is Lil Nix?
Lil Nix is either a government whistleblower using a pseudonym or is a construct of the CDC who back in January realized how bad this was going to be and also realized that the government wasn't going to do anything about it until way too late. And so they released this viral rap song to get out there and kind of get in everyone's head and let people know this might be worse than the official statements are making it out to be.
Give everyone a heads up on the down low.
Exactly.
Now, I was ready to shout you down for your crazy conspiracy theories. However, you have presented a very compelling case. I was not expecting quotes.
No one ever does. And here's the other thing. I think that this is not only aimed at the American people, but it was also aimed at the upper levels of our government. And we'll get into this more in the lyrics, but he repeatedly calls it the flu, which obviously it's not, and the CDC would know that. But they're aiming it at a very specific person who also thought it was a flu.
Wait a minute. Are you implying that there could be a leader of, let's say, the free world who potentially is into mumble rap and they thought perhaps a way to convey an important message for global health embedded within a mumble rap song they believe might be stumbled upon while browsing SoundCloud?
Yes. I think that the CDC was ordered to say that this wasn't as bad as it actually was, and they had to get the message out somewhere, so they created Lil Nix.
All right, Tim, I'm going to say 3 controversial things, if I can remember them. The first one is that I cannot say that any of this is true. You could be completely wrong, but it sounds very right. 2, I said at the beginning of this that it would end with me furious. I was wrong. And 3, I have forgotten.
Well, for 3, I think we can say that you are a little furious because you hate it when you're wrong.
Well, I can't go as far as to say that I am wrong, Tim. I said you could be right. That's very different.
Fair enough.
I like the theory, Tim, and if you have more evidence throughout this song, I am interested in hearing it.
Sure.
So the song opens, Corona, oh Corona, that shit pulled up to my city like aloha. Great.
I think it's brilliant, Garrett. The virus says hello, but it also says goodbye.
Most people do forget that aloha does mean hello and goodbye. Now,
It's
Tim,
so silly.
I'm curious, do you have a preferred use of aloha for goodbye or hello, or do you go both ways?
Honestly, and I mean, this obviously only applies when I'm in Hawaii. I use it for hello, I use it for goodbye, and sometimes I just use it to replace other words.
Like what?
I'm going to go down to the aloha.
Which would be...
Whatever I want, wherever I'm going. The beach, the restaurant.
It seems suspiciously vague.
Exactly. Because I don't have necessarily planned out what I'm going to do, but I like to seem confident. So I pack a bag with a bunch of different items in it, a bunch of different types of clothing. I've got some hiking stuff. I've got some beach wear. And then I go to the aloha, wherever that may be.
It sounds like you're maybe using the aloha on yourself.
Yes, it does.
It's more a surprise to you because I don't care.
Yeah, that's fair.
Go wherever you want on that island.
Ain't no time him for flexing. Got that virus on my golden teeth.
I'm glad you called this line out, Tim. He is educating the public. Wash your grill. And for the love of God, don't just leave it lying around. Forget coronavirus. You could just be infected with all manner of things if you just, let's say you go to Chick-fil-A, Tim. You love Chick-fil-A, right? Get yourself a 12-piece nugget. Maybe you get a large fry. Treat yourself. You don't want to get your nuggets all up in that grill. Pop the grill out and you just throw it on the counter. Even one of those trays, they just wipe it with a rag. It's the same thing they use for the counter. Don't put things on that tray. But you put that thing down there, Tim, and then you pop it back in your mouth. You might as well have just gone and licked a toilet seat.
Now, are you not eating with your grill in?
I'm not.
Okay.
Are you?
No.
Well, that's obviously a lie. Your grill must be disgusting.
I don't ever take it out, so I brush it when I brush my teeth, so it stays clean. I mean, it's as clean as anyone's teeth. You don't take your teeth. Well, you did take your teeth out that one time. Oh my God.
We're not talking about that. What we are talking about is you not cleaning your grill.
Garrett used to have, I don't want to be insulting here, Jack White teeth. Garrett had his teeth replaced, and they did a bad job.
Oversimplification.
They did a bad job with the temporary ones. One of them fell out, and then he reached in his head and he pulled out the rest of his teeth while sitting there watching a movie.
Listen, I am not going to sit here and entertain wild accusations. Was there once an evening where I, one by one, pulled crowns off of my teeth because I felt that they were not well affixed? Did it give the illusion that I had removed all the teeth from my head? Yes. Yes, it did.
And Garrett has monkey paws for hands, right? So
that is rude.
They're horrible looking, but they're very strong. Like this man can rock climb like no other.
Sure.
Especially if the other in question has greased up rock climbing shoes. I have not forgiven you. The point being, the amount of hand strength it takes to pull a crown or a tooth just out of your mouth when the dentist has gone to great lengths to prevent that from happening is
not great enough.
Staggering. And the amount of pain, I assume that was painful.
I have a skewed sense of that.
That's true. Garrett has had a lot of injuries and surgery.
Hey, Tim, is there any other personal information we can get out and want to check out my social security card? What are we doing? Can we talk about this terrible song?
Garrett does not like the restaurant Mongolian Grill.
That is a story for a different day. I'm sure there will be a time where it's appropriate, but it's not today, Tim.
Corona, oh Corona, went from China, traveled across the world to Barcelona.
Right? Yeah, I mean, he did predict the spread of it. Tim,
I don't know.
Who is this guy?
I didn't look up exactly the timetable of coronavirus showing up in Spain. I'm sure that happened before January 30th, but he is acknowledging it. He's bringing it to the forefront in a viral way. He's letting us know this is something that is going to spread.
Can I give you a competing theory?
Sure.
It's been a while since I've proposed time travel. Think of it this way, Tim. If you were to get far enough into the future that technology existed allowing you to go back in time, we got to imagine a considerable amount of time has passed from this moment.
Yes.
Because it's hard for you or I to conceive of such a device. So barring some sort of alien technology, it's going to be a while till we get time travel, if not ever. So let's assume, for the sake of this conversation, that time travel did exist, but they had to figure out a way to communicate to us now in a way that they felt would be culturally relevant.
Oh.
But over a long enough timeline, everything gets synthesized down to bullet points. So if we're talking a couple of thousand years and they're like, okay, 2020, what was big? Something called 6699? Were they using numbers in their letters? What is this society? There was a fleet of wolves that seemed to be very popular.
Yeah. If I may condense this down, you're saying that in 1,000 years, the CDC has stopped all disease prevention attempts, and they have focused all their energy on creating a time machine so that the CDC of 1,000 years from now can travel back to January 30th, 2020 to create a viral mumble rap under the false name Lil Nix and try to warn everybody about the coronavirus.
I'm not saying it has to be the CDC. I don't know who's invented this time travel and for what reason. This could be an inflection point in humanity's history that puts us on perhaps a brighter or potentially darker timeline. And so how we react to this as a people might be so important that they have sent Lil Nix back. And really his name could be, I don't know, what would be the name of a futuristic time traveler? So it needs to be rugged. They need to be well trained. I'm thinking a soldier, but it's futury.
Garlax
Too futury.
Johnson.
Well, that really does round it out, though. You balance the Garlax with the Johnson. That's not bad.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
you're
because
right,
then
you're
his buddies can call him Lax.
Oh, I like that.
All right.
I call it
Johnson.
Unlax.
No, you're not anyone. Lil Nix is Garlax.
Yeah, so you're right. I guess I was focusing a little bit too much on the CDC. This could be a WHO operation. This could be a joint CDC-WHO year 3020 operation, or it could be something they're doing now.
Could be SpaceX 3020. Who knows who's in charge?
Still Elon Musk, but he's mostly replaced by robot parts.
Still has the same voice, though.
Yeah, well, it's already kind of a robot-y voice.
It is.
Diamonds, they green like a boogie. Yeah. Only gon' talk if you know me. Yeah. Getting that green like I'm Broly. Yeah. Coughing that green, dying slowly. Yeah.
I spent a lot of time dissecting this, Tim, and I think I have answers. I'm curious, do you think you know what that means?
No, I spent most of my time looking into Broly and didn't really get anything.
I think I figured out who Broly is.
Okay.
Starting at the top, diamonds, they green like a bogey, which is apparently snot.
Yeah, boogie. Do you not call them boogies?
I don't. Only gonna talk if you know me. I have no idea what that means.
They're saying we're tight-lipped in this organization. We're not going to let all of our secrets out. We have to keep that guarded, possibly for fear of losing some sort of federal funding. We're not going to talk to the media. We're going to sneak it in.
Oh, I thought it was more of like a social distancing. I'm only going to talk to people that I know. I'm going to stay away from others.
That's just bad advice then, because those people you know can't be trusted either.
Getting that green like I'm Broly, yeah, I think is a reference to the Dragon Ball Z character Broly, who has green hair, and then like when they do their like move or whatever, like green flames everywhere.
Maybe.
I mean, you know how long it took me to find that, by the way?
I assume
I was combing through Google photos of Dragon Ball Z.
I mean, I've done it too, but it's for a different project.
And then, of course, coughing that green, dying slowly. No explanation needed. How tragic.
He goes on, lost an eye from the virus, looking like a pirate. Shot him in the neck because my bitches caught him spying. Roll up a 2-pull on double my boo. Pull up and the gang gonna shoot. We all gonna die from a flu. I don't understand what happened to the eye. He lost an eye from the virus. We've discussed on this podcast, although I probably cut it because it's gross, but at some point in 2013, teens in Japan thought it was a good idea to lick each other's eyeballs. Now, this sent me down a path. I learned the word oculolinctus, which is an eyeball licking fetish, sometimes known as worming. It is a paraphilia that has resulted allegedly in eye herpes and eye chlamydia, resulting in subsequent blindness. Anyway, there was a retracted article by The Guardian that they said that eyeball licking was seen as second base, the thing you graduate to when kissing gets boring.
It's more like caught between first and second at best.
Yes, it is. It is the pickle of sexuality. And there were some reports of this being a hoax, and God, I hope so. But the point is, we don't know what the effects of coronavirus are on the human eye, but Lil Nix, and again by Lil Nix, I mean the CDC, might, and they might be warning us of a heretofore unknown symptom.
I mean, Tim, we don't know if at some point this causes a wild mutation or potentially some sort of robot uprising. We have no idea the implications of this turbulent time that we live in. We have no idea why he lost that eye. He could have lost it in battle. It could be some wild mutation. Again, 1,000 years, 2,000 years into the future, there's no way to predict what today will spiral into.
He specifically says lost an eye from the virus.
Well, sure. Which virus?
Oh, probably coronavirus.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's the name of the song, for God's sake. But I prefer to think of it as some sort of, I guess I'm really kind of describing a Cable-like character.
But he also says looking like a pirate. So you're suggesting a future in which humanity has evolved away from the cowboy and more toward a pirate genome.
No, I can't imagine land pirates taking over. It's just a very unappealing culture.
Here's the thing. They've got that one eye always closed because, they've lost it from a virus. So they'd be much better at shooting because they're much more attuned to being able to aim a gun.
You do not aim a gun with one eye.
Do you not? I always do.
Right.
I think you're supposed to.
Slightly to the right.
Oh, right. I used the wrong eye. I put my right eye to the sight and then I close my right eye.
It.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, you don't close the eye with the scope. You don't close either eye, honestly.
Fair enough. We all gonna die from a flu, yeah. We all gonna die from a flu, yeah. And then a robot sings the last two iterations of that. So you might be right. It might be some sort of future robot.
This is the first time this has happened in modern history. We don't know what 2,000 years from now looks like, and the only thing that could easily survive a virus, robots, machines, Tim. Machines cannot be killed as you or I. They do not bleed.
So you suggest some sort of computer virus a la Independence Day?
No. I am always for more of the smash approach when it comes to fighting robots.
Okay. I feel like the moral compass of the show would disagree. Did we get him? Is he on the line?
No. He does not just stay on the line. He's Jeff motherfucking Goldblum.
Okay. Well, I didn't know how it works. I don't know.
Have you been doing your coursework?
Oh, Garrett. Yes, I am several weeks ahead, actually. I'm really taking to it.
Really?
Yeah. I now no longer button the top 6 buttons of my shirt.
I noticed that, and I was going to mention it. I can tell you're really taking in the Goldblum. Of course, anybody who's confused, we are taking a series of courses to get Jeff Goldblum certified, the moral paragon and moral compass of the Why I Hate This Album podcast. He can't always be around, so we are taking an intensive study course to understand how to think like, embody, and then come to the appropriate conclusions as one Jeffrey Goldblum would. It's an incredible amount of work, Tim, and I want to applaud you in throwing yourself into it, undoing the buttons, your recent interest in jazz piano. You're coming along great. I hope you don't lose yourself and become more Goldblum than Tim. That's not the dynamic on the show. I can't have you Goldbluming at me all day.
No, I can't do an impression of Jeff Goldblum, so unless his spirit or his essence inhabits me in some way, I will not be actually Goldbluming at you. But I will keep my shirt unbuttoned. It's a lot cooler, and it is hot in Texas.
You know, I'm going to say, Tim, if his essence or soul embodies you, that I can get on board with. I will hang out with that.
Yes.
The song, I guess it continues, right?
He's talking about dying from a flu, and I think that's a deliberate choice.
What do you mean?
Well, I think that he knows that the audience is both the American public, but he's also hoping, and by he, I mean the CDC, is hoping that the audience is also an American president who, for some reason, believes coronavirus to be the same as the flu.
Well, Garlax thought it would be so popular that all ears would hear the message of Lil Nix. That's why it's so dumbed down, Tim. It's got to appeal to the smartest of the intellectual and the dumbest of the dolts. Help me understand what these lyrics mean. Yeah, my nose will be wet like a pool, yeah. Roll up a 2, pull up on double my boo, pull up and the gang gonna shoot, pull up and the gang gonna shoot you.
So what he's doing is he's giving tips for social distancing. He's saying, if people try to get into your quarantine, shoot them.
Interesting.
We're not suggesting that.
We
the
are not,
CDC, no one's suggesting that. I'm just saying he's using it as a metaphor to encourage social distancing. And I think that's responsible, even if the specific word choice may not be.
I'm going to disagree. I think roughly he's saying that he's going to smoke marijuana and see his boo, and then he's going to go on a gang shooting.
I think he's going to shoot if somebody pulls up.
Okay, I guess that makes sense. I still don't know what pull up on double my boo means.
Maybe that's not for us. Maybe that's for a very specific individual. It's their code to have the next person create a coronavirus song to further spread the word.
Oh, maybe. Maybe it's a Manchurian Candidate or your classic Winter Soldier, a series of just nonsense words strung together, and it's going to activate somebody to, I don't know, come up with a vaccine?
Maybe. And then there's some background spoken word in here which mentions BTS, the K-pop guys. Lots of internet folks seem to think that's racist. I wasn't sure. I guess it's maybe because he's implying that Asian people are more likely to get it even in the US, which doesn't make sense. Or maybe that he doesn't know the difference between South Koreans and the mainland Chinese.
It's that one.
I think
he does not know the difference. So then the entire song that we just read basically repeats again before he just has a total breakdown and the song ends very abruptly. He's singing and he gets to the end of the verse and he fucks it up and the whole song falls apart. He says, fuck, I said that shit. Fuck, man. So yeah, I mean, hopefully that shit blow up. Share it to a friend who just fucking died of corona, which is not cool.
I think he says
Also,
shout out to a friend who just died.
Oh, shout out.
Yeah, I think he's giving a shout out to somebody that he knows that died of coronavirus. And given that he is the CDC, probably knows a bunch of people.
I wish you had picked a different agency.
The FBI?
Just anyone where you didn't say CDC 874 times in the episode, just psychopath. I gave you a banned word list.
Yeah, that's true. I think that the algorithms will see that this is a pro-CDC
That's true.
rant that we're going. I'll take credit for this one, am going on. So this shouldn't get taken down by any sorts of robots.
Well, we were anti-robot, though. We did discuss how to murder robots. Great, Tim. So that brings us to the music video, and I have to say, I was so excited and then wildly underwhelmed.
Yes, I kind of went back and forth because it's a very simple animation, but somebody did put time and effort to animate this, and so I just was confused. Do you think somebody put too much or too little work into this?
I think they put the right amount of effort into the animation. I think not enough effort was put into the concept to justify making it.
That's fair. Basically, it's just an animated alien in a beanie. Sometimes he's wearing a mask. Sometimes he's driving a flying car. Sometimes he does a little dance.
The dance is the key to the whole thing. And holy shit. Okay, this all just came together.
Oh, God.
What is the other thing that's incredibly popular right now with our society aside from mumble rap and SoundCloud?
TikTok dances.
TikTok dances. So, of course, this thing has two elements: mumble rap and TikTok dances.
Yeah.
This thing was trying to spread the word. Let us know early and often. Be warned, American public. Lock it down and you'll avoid an entire 3 months where you can't leave your house because it's been brutal. Folks, if you're not following the saga of Tim and I locked up together on Twitter, you're missing out. I have been providing quarantine updates for weeks now on the various actions and activities that take place here in the temporary world headquarters here in our very own home. Tim, I assume you haven't seen any of those updates.
I don't really ever check Twitter.
The TikTok dance really ties it together for me, and that's obviously the whole point of the music video, is so that people get more excited and do his TikTok dance. What I didn't realize is it was all a hook to help us understand the dangers of not taking a pandemic seriously. But by and large, you've explained everything there is to talk about in this music video. Like I said, I like the visual aesthetic. I did a little research. You can have something like this done for anywhere from $150 to as much as $2,000 on Fiverr, to varying degrees of quality.
Why are we not doing this for every episode of this show?
Although that 2 minutes is different than an hour and a half.
Why don't we have a trailer for every show made?
Because that would require us to pick a clip, get it loaded, send it to the animator, approve the edits. How would we do that?
Why don't we have a greatest hits made?
I actually was going to talk to you about that.
I'm in for that.
Yeah. Tim, how did this thing do?
No idea. As of us recording this has about 1.1 million views. When I started listening to this song, it had about 700,000. It seems to be catching on, although far later than, again, certain agencies would have liked it to.
Fair enough. Any reviews for us?
This is for sale on Amazon. There are no reviews as of the day we were recording this, so I had to go to YouTube.
Oh, God.
There were no comments of any interest on YouTube. Do better, YouTube. Maybe there's a grand conspiracy behind this song that you could expose in the comment section of YouTube and save me from having to think of this on my own. I could just steal your YouTube comments and flesh it out to a full Prepisode length. Excuse me, Prepisode.
Got a lot of questions for you after this. But since you've listened to this episode, you could write a new conspiratorial theory about our conspiratorial theory.
Or just a new one about this song and email it to us.
hatePodMail@gmail.com. Tim, who's this for?
This is for everyone, Garrett. This is for you, me, the elderly, those with diabetes, heart disease, obesity, our lawmakers, the CDC, WHO, Dr. Fauci, the whole goddamn world.
Compelling. Anything you want to say about this song before we ask the question?
Nope.
Me either. Tim, do you hate this song?
No. As far as a song goes, it sounds kind of crappy. It's not terrible, but as far as the messaging goes, this is what we need. It's what we needed months ago. What about you, Garrett? Did I get you further away from hate?
Your reverse got me there this week. That's the hardest one to do, folks, by the way.
Put it back in ya.
Oh, the hate.
Yes, of course.
You're right. It's not hate-worthy, and it may very well be a life-saving message sent back in time by a brave, if not misguided, Garlax Johnson, who may or may not be associated with a future government agency, whom I presume may or may not be run by Elon Musk.
Okay.
You don't hate it. I don't hate it. That brings us to listener mail. Tim, would you like to go first this week?
I can, as is tradition. This is from Luther, who says, Dear Tim, and also, I suppose, Garrett, listening to your Third Eye Blind pod, and the part about one of their stupid songs being a response to Lou Reed's Walk on the Wild Side, thanks to their respective doot-doots. And considering your comment that you ought to try to identify which Reed song may be a response to them, it became very clear to me what had to happen. I know what you're thinking, Lou Reed and Metallica's Lulu, but don't be stupid.
I'm never thinking
Nobody wants to hear Lou Reed's response influenced by James Hetfield's response to Third Eye Blind's response to Lou Reed. Lou Reed also didn't take until 2011 to respond. He was on the ball. He responded in 2003 with The Raven. That's where you'll find his response. There's also a reasonable chance you'll hate that album. It's pretty terrible, and I love Lou Reed. You owe me $7.99 for the information. Thanks.
Send us your Venmo. Interesting, Tim. I don't know anything about this album. Do you?
No, I don't. But I do want to know what his response is. I hope it's just a song where he sarcastically sings Third Eye Blind lyrics.
I was going to say, if he just sings Semi-Charmed Kind of Life, start to finish, just all Lou Reedy. Or just doing his best impression of Third Eye Blind.
I like that.
Oh, so mocking. Good email. Who was that from?
That was from Luther.
Well, thanks, Luther, I guess. My email this week is from Drew V. I say V because his last name is crazy. Drew, where are you from?
This is the Drew that sends us horrifying pictures along with Nolan and somehow in conjunction with Onion Boy, and he really hates it if you call him Dreward.
I can see that. I didn't realize this was the same Drew.
I think so.
Interesting. Drew, you have a crazy last name. How do you say that thing? His email was a breath of fresh air, Tim. And this is partially why I did not think it was the same Drew. But let me begin. You guys wanted a fanfic that didn't start with sex or anything sexual, so I made this and I hope you love it as much as I do. Pretty good, right?
Yep.
Already, it does not seem like the same Drew. He sends us a lot of very unpleasant things.
Sexual things.
Yeah, it's not okay. Don't care for it. I mean, we shouldn't quite say that. They're romantic things.
They are sensual drawings. They are not sexual.
Yeah, like they're not graphic. They're just unwanted. And you post every one of them.
No,
Thanks,
I don't.
Tim.
I actually don't post the most horrific.
Oh, that's right. There are some that are just for us, I guess. Anyway, if anyone's confused, we got turned on to an AI that you can feed a line to and then it'll write a story. So Drew has given the line to the AI. Tim and Garrett have been very bored during quarantine, so they decided to. And that's where the sentence ends, and this is what the robot wrote in its stead. They decided to team up and play a game. Garrett eats cookies and Tim eats bananas. So far, I love this. After a few rounds, they were super exhausted, but very funny and okay, damn it.
You really have to read these all the way through because they always turn sexual.
But it's more
sensual.
fun if I haven't read them first. After a few rounds, they were super exhausted, but very funny and very friendly with each other. When we broke the banana, Tim was watching in horror and pulled his finger out. God damn it. Garrett showed us he had a football with a ball in the end zone and asked to share it. Tim got it and held it up to the camera. He then played a new game called where he humped the camera leg.
Yep.
Well, that sounds like you. If the camera got too annoying or Tim was not playing well, he was to turn over the camera, throw a banana at the camera, and throw it in the trash. Here is the second half with Tim humping the camera. My only complaint, cliffhanger.
Well, they almost all seem to be.
Well, it's written by a robot. I think you have to keep egging it on. And then they get more and more gibberishy.
More and more sensual.
No, that seems to be something unique about what our listeners do. They make that robot sensual, Tim.
Maybe that's how you stop a robot.
With love?
Or with sensuality.
With lust.
Yes, you get a couple of candles burning, maybe a nice fire, a bearskin rug. You're not naked, but you're not fully clothed either.
There's an implication for sure.
Absolutely, yeah.
Maybe you've poured some brandy, roaring fire.
Yes.
Your body glistening with...
Both your bodies
I know how
glistening.
to seduce a robot.
Yours with some sort of coconut oil, his with motor oil. And I assume that the robot in question would be male.
Why?
Most of
Why
the
can't
robots...
I seduce a girl robot?
Garrett, you know what our listeners are going to send us. They're going to be male robots.
Guys.
They're not going to send us a sexy lady robot.
They could, though.
Please
That's
don't.
what I would enjoy.
Please don't. We don't.
Listeners, write in.
Listeners, send in your sexiest lady robot.
You know what? We're in this deep. Do it. That brings us to music news of the weird, Tim. Do you want to go first or do you want me to kick things off?
You should go first.
Okay. My first story this week, Tim, is about our old friends Slipknot. Remember Slipknot?
I do.
So during an appearance on some show called The Fred Minnick Show. Never heard of it. That's okay. Slipknot percussionist M. Sean Clown Crahan was asked if he could ever see the band ditching its trademark costumes and performing unmasked. His response is incredibly long and rambly, so I did not write the entire thing down. What I did do is I pulled some quotes at random. There were so many crazy things that he said in a rambling response to that question that I pulled at random 3 quotes. So let's give you a sense of where he's at with this. There's not a day that doesn't go by that every member wishes we didn't have to wear that stuff, especially since it was my idea in the sense of I brought it to the table. Okay.
That is how things being your idea works.
Sure, and it seems like they're probably on board with not wearing it. The next quote, people ask me all the time, are you going to take off the mask? And I say, why do I need to do that? You're only asking me because of behavior. You're only doing that because you have a hypothesis of all the other artists, some way or not, but I'm not a part of that test, that field research. I'm the clown in a band called Slipknot. We are not your kind. We are not like you. We are not part of your hypothesis.
2 things here. He does not know what the word hypothesis means.
Correct.
And he, unlike us several weeks ago, does not have a active research lab. He seems to not understand what music research or clown research or neurobiology is all about.
What do you mean neurobiology?
Well, I mean, we've published a number of papers in very well-respected neurobiological journals since we started this. He doesn't know research.
Oh, God, no. God, no. Sure, by our standards, but that's unfair, Tim. He's an artist.
He's a clown. What number is he, by the way?
I have no idea. I assume 0?
No, probably not. I'm going to guess 4. Listeners, write in. Which one is Sean the Clown Slipknot guy?
If you're thinking about writing in about what number Sean the Clown Crahan is, instead send us your sexiest lady robot pictures. Hand-drawn, of course. Nothing gross.
Please don't do that. Please don't.
Yeah, we're kind of joking. I'll enjoy it.
I mean, we will. We're probably not going to post robot pornography on our Instagram page if that is what you're hoping for.
I don't want it to be pornography, Tim. I want them to be sexy lady robots that I would seduce for the purposes of ending the human-robot wars. Not pornography. Okay. Tasteful.
Yes, tasteful pornography.
Do it. Tim, what do you got?
Taylor Swift might be covering her own songs at this point to fix weird disputes over who owns her catalog news. Tayswee and her brother Austin likely created a fake band called Jack Leopard and the Dolphin Club to record a cover of her song Look What You Made Me Do for an episode of the television program Killing Eve. And if you're wondering why it would be necessary to go through all this nonsense, it is because the record label that owns all the masters of her songs isn't letting her use them or re-record them as herself without all the profits going to the record label. And I think that reverts back to her at some point this year or early next year. But that agreement does not apply to cover songs. So the hypothesis is that she created a fake band to cover her own song with her brother singing lead vocals so that she could make money off of her own music.
Why would she have him sing? I guess it's not cover if he doesn't do it.
Maybe so that it's less obvious what she's doing.
I mean, people were going to figure it out pretty quick. You might as well have said, yeah, it's Sailor Twift.
Yeah, you got clown scientists running around making hypotheses and doing research on clowns.
He's not, Tim.
Okay.
He's neither a clown nor doing research.
He's a clown scientist, though, is what I got from your story.
Right. You got the wrong thing.
Okay, he's a scientist clown then.
He's as much of a scientist as Mark Wahlberg is.
He's also a scientist clown.
Only when he has a lab coat and or glasses.
What else you got, Garrett?
I dug this up the other day. Legendary producer Eddie Kramer told a story talking about working with the Rolling Stones on their 1967 single, Let's Spend the Night Together. In that story, he discusses that the Metropolitan Police at the time were basically following Mick and Keith around, attempting to catch them doing literally anything illegal so that they could send them to jail because they'd basically not been able to technically arrest them, but know that they're doing horrible things, or at least, Rolling Stonesy things.
Sure, and by that you mean smoking pot.
Well, there's that Stray Cat Blues.
Yeah, but the police and society were not offended by that.
Oh, that's a good point. I have to think historically, Tim. They were A-okay with that 13-year-old.
Ew.
16, 15, 14.
I don't know, man. Too young.
Let's not relive the trauma. Too young. That's the point, Tim. Gross. Anyway, one night, as they're working on the recording for Let's Spend the Night Together, a couple of little bobbies pop up just outside the studio doors. And so the engineer, Mr. Kramer, gets on Mick's headphones and he goes, hey, a couple police are just outside the door. What do you want to do? Mick being Mick walks to the door and goes, hey, guys, come on in. And invites the two policemen in, tells them both that he's having an issue with his headphones and he's curious if they could help him out. Completely thrown off guard, they agree to do so, and a little starstruck maybe. He convinces each one of them to press his headphones, literally hold them against his head for him as he continues to record the song. Then he makes the producer stop and he's like, no, I have a great idea. Gentlemen, do you mind if I borrow your bashing sticks, your nightsticks, I guess they're called?
Bashing sticks, I think is the technical.
They're bashing sticks. And he says, can I borrow those for a minute? They hand him over. Mick says, all right, start it up again. And all the while, everybody in the production booth is just shoveling drugs out into the hallway on the off chance these cops look in there. They're like, there's no AC in 1967 England. We just have clouds of marijuana smoke just pouring out of these rooms. And we're just doing anything we can while Mick has these two guys in a recording booth with him. And he starts clacking the nightsticks together as he sings Let's Spend the Night Together. So if you listen closely on the bridge, honest to God, you think you hear percussion? It's not percussion. It's Mick Jagger banging two nightsticks together in an effort to distract two cops with flattery while they hide drugs.
That's amazing. I'm going to go have to listen back to that.
Yeah, it's pretty nuts. What else you got, Tim?
I have some not necessarily music news. This is
As is often your custom.
Oh, okay. Well, then this shouldn't surprise anyone. In cowboy news, a tiger got loose from some jackass's house in Guadalajara, and several people, for some reason, thought it would be a good idea to try and chase it down and tackle it or something. I don't know what their plan was. They didn't catch it. However, there was a cowboy on hand who calmly lassoed it after all non-cowboys available failed in catching it. Because obviously cowboys are heroes and deserve your respect and admiration.
No more cowboy news. No more cowboy news. I was going to give you your own Tim News segment that didn't have to be music oriented, but you have already abused it. No more cowboy news. No Tim News.
Well, we'll see about
Tim
that.
News. We will see about that.
What else you got, Garrett?
My next story, Tim, is less of a story, more of a quick update. Were you aware that if you get on Netflix right now, you can watch Garth Brooks' The Road I'm On, a 2-part docuseries that details the life of star Garth Troyle Brooks.
Next Prepisode?
Well, it's 2 parts, Tim.
Next
I think
3 episodes?
Wow, what if we dedicated a whole episode? I was going to turn it over to the listeners. Should we do a 2-part Garth Troyle Brooks companion podcast for 2 Prepisodes on Garth Brooks' The Road I'm On? Let us know. Write in. Or, Album HatePod on Twitter, HatePod on Instagram. Hashtag Prepagarth? No, it's too long. Garthisode? No, that doesn't make any sense.
I like Garthisode. What about Troylsode?
Troyle Prep.
Troyle.
Let us know. Troyle yes or Troyle no?
Oh, I like that.
There we go. Let us know. Troyle yes, Troyle no. 2-part series on Garth Brooks, The Road I'm On. A 2-part docuseries, I believe, on Netflix.
All right.
What else you got, Tim?
So I have a correction, actually, from the Joe Woe and Marcy Playground episode. Unless Garrett cut this part, I mentioned that Joe Woe did a cover of Jimi Hendrix's Hear My Train A-Comin' in the history. If I remember correctly, my tone might have been somewhat dismissive.
It was.
Yeah, I am not afraid to admit when I'm wrong, and I apologize for that tone because it is a surprisingly good cover.
I might have cut that.
Oh, goddammit. If he cut it, ignore all of that. I still hate Sex and Candy.
But you like that band.
Well, it was before the band existed. It was him dicking around with his girlfriend in college playing Hear My Train A-Comin'. And he did it pretty well. What else you got, Gary?
My very last story, Tim, is a special one about rapper and longtime friend of the show, Tekashi 6ix9ine. He has recently urged New York rappers to donate $100,000 to charity, and if they give that money, he will match it. He said, quote, if you a rapper from New York and you ain't got at least $100K to give back to our city for people in need, you're a bum. It's an excellent message, and we applaud that, of course, Mr. 9. He also goes on to say, God give you a gift, and it's not just for you, it's to help others in need. This, of course, Tim, comes after children's charity No Kid Hungry reportedly declined a $200,000 donation from the rapper earlier this month due to his past transgressions and associations with various illegal crimes and such.
Yes.
No comment on any of that?
Nope.
It's a silver lining, Tim, in these troubled times that at least Mr. 6ix9ine is using some of his notoriety to raise money for a good cause.
Oh, absolutely. Again, take his money. He's just gonna get a shark tattooed on his face if you don't take his money. That's what he's gonna do it either way. But I mean, you won't stop him from doing that. But the point is, you might be limiting the amount of money he has to buy, I don't know,
another Lamborghini.
Sure.
Or more like another 8. But there was a time, Tim, where if you announced to the world you were going to have a shark tattooed on your face, you no longer got to make decisions for yourself.
I know. He doesn't have any family members worried about him in the same way that Britney Spears' family members were worried about
You're
her.
reading my mind, Tim. I was going to say, is there some way that Britney Spears' father can enact some sort of conservatorship over 6ix9ine's estate? Really get him under wraps?
That would be amazing. If anyone listening is a lawyer and knows how we at this show could assume not responsibility for him, but responsibility for his estate. So he's
Right
responsible for all of his nonsense, but if he wants to spend that money, he has to come through us.
Yeah, anything under $500, go nuts. Over that, we need to sign off. 2 signatures.
Right. Unless he's going to spend that money on a face tattoo, in which case, again, go nuts.
Great music, news of the weird, and that brings us to the final segment of the show where we announce what album will we be listening to for an entire week before we come back here and do this whole thing all over again. Tim, what album are we going to be listening to?
We will be listening to Trapped's 2002 album Trapped. It is either their debut or sophomore album, depending on how you count it.
I choose to say debut.
Okay.
I don't know anything about this band.
I think I might know one song from this from high school radio. We had a ton of people suggest this album. It seems familiar, but I don't know yet.
I'm excited to hear that Trapped by Trapped is old enough that it came out when you were in high school.
Yeah, 2002?
I expected it to be like, okay, maybe I know this then, and I just don't realize I know this, because that's still radio days.
And we did do a bit on some of Chris Brown's tweets, so I'm pretty sure he's an asshole. And again, based on how many people have requested this album, I assume this is just real bad.
As always, folks, if you can, head on out, ideally to the old Apple Podcasts, but wherever you listen to our show, if there's a way for you to rate the show, throw the 5 stars up there, get it out of the way. Hilariously, Tim, somebody gave us a delightfully glowing review the other day. 1 star. They're either the funniest person ever, or they just made a small mistake.
Oh.
If you did, no worries, but it made me laugh really hard.
I don't like that.
Yeah, please don't do that, because they'll do the opposite for the love of God, say horrible things to us, throw up the 5 stars, get that out of the way. But it makes a giant difference. We get little notifications occasionally, well, I do, Tim doesn't, about when we jump up in the charts randomly, and it's been happening more and more, and that's a dedication that you guys bring when you rate, review, subscribe, and most importantly, just tell somebody about the show if you think they'd like it. If you want to reach out to us, you can go to hatepod.com, click on Contact Us in the upper left-hand corner and ask for an email. That's just so we can reply. We don't do anything with it. Or you can email us at hatePodMail@gmail.com. While you're on hatepod.com, you can also get every episode we've ever done in almost every format you could possibly conceive of. You can even download a copy and own it your very own self. You can go to Instagram, that's hatepod. You can go to Twitter, that's album hatepod. You can go to facebook.com/hatepod. But if you want to make a suggestion, and we want your suggestions, don't do it on Facebook. It's hard as shit to search that cesspool. Do it on Instagram. Do it on Twitter. Not quite on TikTok. If you can find the secret feed, you can do it there. Find the feed. We're also on YouTube. We've got a Discord server. We've got the subreddits. If you want to talk about the show, reach out to us. There's a million ways to do it. That's about 500 of them. For Why I Hate This Album, I have been one of your hosts, Garrett Harvey.
I have been the other, also Garrett Harvey.
No, at best, Garlax Johnson.
There's cowboys running through my dreams. Nothing's quite the way it seems. I joined the Navy, got kicked out in a week. My facial features aren't distinct. Try to find some meaning in these songs. The genius is a genius, got it wrong. No, it's a lobster murder sex thing. It's the bleaching of the rear. A full of salt on both your ears. The riffs are too repetitive, the lyrics make no sense. All the songs are B-sides, the cover art's a mess. Listen to it for a week, now that week has passed. It's the Why I Hate This Album podcast with Tim and Gary.